Nobody tells you this, but there will come a day when you'll look back and wish you had done things differently. Not because you didn't try hard enough, but because you didn't know what really mattered until it was too late. Growing older comes with wisdom, sure, but also with a few surprises. Some are beautiful, like realizing how little you need to be happy. But others, they're the kind that settle in late at night. Quiet regrets, things you wish someone had warned you about. And that's what we're doing today. We're peeling back the curtain on the 7 most common regrets seniors face, so you don't have to live with them. Some of these might sting a little. Others may just confirm something you've already felt deep down. But every one of them carries a lesson, and if you're willing to reflect, you still have time to change the ending. So let's start with the one regret that sneaks up quietly and steals more than you realize. Regret number 1, losing independence too soon. It doesn't happen all at once. It starts with letting someone else handle the groceries. Then you stop driving at night. Then suddenly you're waiting for permission to take a walk. Losing independence isn't always a dramatic moment. Sometimes it's just tiny choices that chip away at your freedom until you're no longer calling the shots in your own life. I remember a woman named Clara. She was 79 when she decided to move into assisted living. She said it was just temporary, a way to make things easier. Within weeks, her routines were gone. Meals were at set times. Her clothes were chosen for her, and her once lively days became quiet and predictable. She didn't complain at first, but a few months in, I asked how she was adjusting, and she looked at me and said, "I miss choosing what time I have my coffee." That's the thing. It's not about the coffee. It's about the choice. And once that choice is gone, so as a part of you, we think safety means surrendering our freedom. But sometimes safety without autonomy becomes a quiet kind of prison. If you're still able to manage your life, even if it's slower, even if it takes more planning, don't give up control too soon. Ask for help where you need it, yes, but protect the parts of your life that make you feel like you. Because once you give up your independence, getting it back, that's the hard part. Now, if losing independence is the first regret, this next one is the heaviest to carry, because it's about the people you love. Regret number 2, waiting too long to say what mattered. You think you have time. Time to call your sister. Time to tell your son you're proud of him. Time to apologize for the thing that's been sitting on your heart for 20 years. But the truth is, time isn't guaranteed. And silence, it becomes its own kind of wound. I knew a man, Henry, who spent most of his life quietly distant from his daughter. Not out of anger, but out of habit. "She knows I love her," he'd say. I don't have to say it. But when Henry was hospitalized after a fall, his daughter sat by his bed. And for the first time in decades, they talked, really talked. He told her he regretted not showing up more when she was younger. She cried, then smiled, then told him, "I've been waiting to hear that since I was 10. You see, love isn't always loud, but it does need to be spoken, not for drama, not for show, but because unspoken words don't disappear. They just settle in the space between you. So don't wait. If there's someone you need to reach out to, do it. Send the letter. Make the call. Even if it's awkward, even if it's been years, even if you don't know what to say, just start. Because regret doesn't come from saying too much. It comes from saying nothing and realizing later it was your last chance. We've covered independence and the importance of speaking up while there's still time. But what happens when the days start to feel empty, even when you're surrounded by people? That's where we're heading next. It creeps in slowly, not like sadness, more like fog. You wake up, make your coffee, sit by the window, and suddenly the question hits, what am I even doing anymore? That's the third regret, letting go of purpose too early. Not because someone forced you to, but because somewhere along the way, you convince yourself that slowing down meant stepping out of relevance, out of roles, out of meaning. And that's a dangerous belief. I remember visiting an old neighbor, George. In his younger days, he was a school teacher, sharp, passionate, adored by his students. After retirement, he told himself he'd finally rest. No alarm clocks, no lesson plans, no papers to grade. At first, it felt like freedom. But 6 months in, he admitted he felt invisible. "It's like the world doesn't need me anymore," he said. And if I'm being honest, sometimes I wonder if I need it. The truth is, people don't need a paycheck or a title to have purpose. Purpose is simpler than that. It's checking in on a friend who's lonely, It's mentoring someone younger. It's tending to your garden, volunteering, writing your story, reading to your grandchild, even just deciding that today you're going to try and make someone smile. Purpose doesn't retire, but we do, and too often we take our identity with it. So if you're in a season where your calendar looks emptier than it used to, don't fill it with noise. Fill it with meaning. Ask yourself, what small thing can I do today that matters? And then do that, because a life without purpose isn't restful. It's restless, and regret only grows in silence. Now, that brings us to something a bit more physical, not emotional, but just as powerful. Letting your body go before it's time. It's the fourth regret. And it's a big one because it's so easy to justify. My knees hurt. I'm too tired. What's the point now? But here's the thing. Your body doesn't care about your age as much as it cares about your effort. You see, the body listens to how you treat it. If you tell it, we're done, it listens. Muscles weaken, joints stiffen, your energy dries up. But if you say, we're not done yet, even gently, even slowly, it rises to meet you. I met a woman once, 82 years old, named Evelyn. She wasn't running marathons, but every morning she walked up and down her driveway twice. Not much, right? But she did it daily, rain or shine. This is my way of reminding my legs they still work, she told me. And you know what? They did. Then there was Frank. Same age, different approach. He'd reclined his way into stillness. TV on, slippers by the couch. He used to dance. Now he barely stood. When asked why he didn't move more, he said, at this age, what difference does it make? The difference, Frank, is everything. Because when you stop using your body, it stops working for you. And when that happens, regret moves in fast. Regret that you didn't fight harder to keep what you had. So if you can still move, move. Even if it's slow. Even if it's just a stretch or a walk to the mailbox. Not because you're chasing youth, but because you're honoring life. Your muscles, your bones, your balance, they're not gone. They're just waiting to be remembered. And let me say this plainly. Age is not the enemy. Inactivity is. It sneaks up with the kind of regret that sounds like, I wish I hadn't let myself fade so fast. You don't need to reverse time. You just need to remind your body that you still belong in it, fully. Let that be your message to yourself today. Now, we've talked about purpose. We've talked about physical decline. But there's another regret that doesn't get discussed enough, and it has everything to do with how others see us and how we see ourselves. You don't notice it at first. It starts small. A nurse forgets to knock. Someone calls you sweetie instead of your name. A caregiver hurries you through your shower like a task on a list. You laugh it off the first time. But inside, a thought begins to grow. Have I become invisible? That's the fifth regret. Losing your dignity in the name of care. And it doesn't happen all at once. It comes from being treated like a task instead of a person. From feeling like your needs are an inconvenience. From realizing that somewhere along the line, the world stopped asking what you want and started deciding for you. There's a story I'll never forget. An old friend named Leo, sharp as ever, proud, independent. But after a fall, he moved into a facility to recover. I visited him 2 weeks in, and he seemed quieter than usual. Finally, he looked up and said, you know the worst part? It's not the food. It's not the noise. It's that no one looks me in the eye anymore. Like I'm just something to manage. That broke my heart. Because dignity isn't about grand gestures. It's about feeling seen, heard, respected. And yes, aging sometimes requires help. But help should never come at the cost of humanity. Being cared for doesn't mean being talked down to. Being older doesn't mean being less. If you ever felt like people speak over you or for you, instead of with you, you know exactly what I mean. And that loss of voice, of privacy, of control, it leaves a mark that doesn't fade easily. So if you're still in a place where you can make your own choices, protect them. Speak up for yourself. Ask for support, not control. And when possible, set boundaries that honor who you are, not just what others think you need. And if you're already in a situation where your independence feels limited, find small ways to reclaim it. Pick out your own clothes. Make your bed your way. Ask to speak for yourself at appointments. These little acts, they're not small. They're statements. I am still here. Which brings us to the sixth regret. And it might be the hardest one to say out loud. Wishing you had forgiven more. You might not think of forgiveness as a senior issue, but it is. Because by the time you hit 70, 80, or 90, you're carrying a lot. Memories, pain, old wounds that were never healed. And somewhere deep down, part of you thought you have more time to sort it all out. But time has a way of speeding up when you're not paying attention. And those things you meant to say, those apologies you hope to give or receive, they don't always get the chance to happen. I once spoke with a woman named Teresa. She was in her 80s, soft-spoken, kind. But when her sister's name came up, her entire face changed. "We haven't talked in 27 years, she said. "We had an argument, and I was too proud to call her." I asked if she ever thought about reaching out. She nodded slowly. "I think about it every day. But now, I don't even know if she'd want to hear from me. I waited too long." That's the kind of regret that doesn't just sit on your shoulders, it settles in your soul. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's not about pretending nothing happened. It's about releasing yourself from the weight of carrying someone else's mistake, or your own, forever. And here's the part no one tells you. Forgiveness is freedom, not for the other person, but for you. If you're holding on to something, an old betrayal, a painful memory, words you can't unsay, ask yourself this: is this helping me live better today? Or is it holding me back from peace? Because at this stage in life, peace is more valuable than pride, and grace is more healing than being right. Write the letter, make the call, or even just whisper into the quiet, "I forgive you, and I forgive myself." It's not too late, not until you decide it is. And that leads us to the final regret, one that often comes too late to fix, but never too late to talk about. There's a certain kind of silence that settles in when you realize you waited too long to live the life you really wanted. That's the seventh regret, and it's the one that hits hardest at the end. Not because you didn't try, but because you waited for the right time to travel, to dance again, to learn that instrument you used to love, to finally say yes to joy. So many of us spend our younger years being responsible, practical, focused on everyone else. And that's noble, it really is. You raised families, built careers, helped others. You did what needed to be done. But now is supposed to be your time. And yet, for too many, it becomes a waiting room. Waiting for the weather to be better. Waiting for someone to invite you. Waiting for energy or money or the right mood to return. And then one day, you look back and realize the waiting never ended. And the life you dreamed of stayed right there in the dream. I once met a man, Harold, who had always wanted to see the Grand Canyon. He talked about it for years, kept a postcard on his fridge, told everyone, "One day I'll get there." He was 87 when we spoke, still sharp, still funny. But when I asked if he ever made the trip, he just looked down and said, "No." I kept putting it off, figured there'd be time. You could hear the weight in those words. And that's the thing. We think time is generous, but time only gives what we claim. So if there's something you've always wanted to do, say, experience, don't wait. Don't wait until it's convenient. Don't wait until it's perfect. Don't wait for permission. Take the class, call the friend, book the trip, join the choir, write the book, do it for the version of you who always wanted to, but never thought they could, because the most painful kind of regret isn't the loud one. It's the quiet one that whispers, "What if?" You're not too old, you're not too late, and you're definitely not done. What you choose to do with this chapter could become the very best part of your story. And even if you carry some regrets, remember this: you're still here, still breathing, still capable of rewriting how the rest of this book goes. The truth is, we all have regrets, things we wish we'd done sooner, things we wish we hadn't done at all. But the beauty of being alive right now in this moment is that you still have time to choose differently. So let today be that turning point. Say the thing, move your body, forgive the hurt, protect your dignity, lie with purpose. And for heaven's sake, don't wait to live the life you know is meant for you. If this resonated with you, even just a little, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share a comment below and tell me one thing you're going to do differently after watching this, because your story still matters. You still matter. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like and subscribe, not just to support the channel, but to stay connected to a space that values who you are and who you're becoming. Here's to living with fewer regrets and more moments that make you proud. Because it's not about the years you have left. It's about the life you put into those years. And yours? It's far from over.